Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Thanksgiving to every one of you. Let me remind you that this afternoon at 2 p.m. Alaska time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be going live for a little bit just to hang out with those of you that want to hang out. Maybe you don't have anyone to hang out with today. So be here at 2 p.m. Alaska time or 6 p.m. Eastern time, and we can have a little bit of fun together. I actually have a little bit of exciting news for that live stream. However, ladies and gentlemen, I did not want to make this video in any way a video that is sad. But yesterday I found out some extremely sad news. And for those of you that don't know who Southern Boy Prepper is, he is a good man. And I'm going to go ahead and show you his channel right here. Unfortunately, earlier this week, Southern Boy Prepper's son passed away in his sleep, from what I understand. And although I cannot feel his pain, I am very sorry for his loss. He is a good man. He's a patriot that loves his country, his family, his countrymen. So go over to his channel and pay him your respects and give him your condolences. That way he knows that he's not alone. Okay? And brother, if you need anything, just send me an email. Get with Mr. Tom. Mr. Tom has my phone number. So for this video, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about what I'm thankful for. And what you should all be thankful for who are watching this. And what you can do to pay it forward on this, what I consider is a very important day. I understand that some people have their problems with Thanksgiving, the origin, all that kind of stuff. But none of that means anything to me. Because to me, Thanksgiving is a day of doing just that, giving thanks. I don't care where its origins came from. All I care about is what does it mean to me, to my family, to my friends, to my countrymen as a whole. And what I think it means is that you celebrate and you give thanks to the Lord for allowing you to make it through the harvest, for allowing you to make it through the year and go toward next year and start all over again. And that in itself is a gift. It is a gift that has been bestowed upon us. And for that, I am thankful. It's a little bit difficult to talk about this, knowing what I just talked about Southern Boy Prepper. Because that must be such a tragic event. My wife was up till like 4 o'clock this morning. It's, what, about 6 o'clock this morning. Getting everything ready for tomorrow. My wife is the Thanksgiving dinner guru. I play very, very little part in Thanksgiving dinner. She takes care of it, and she's always done an awesome job. And this year, Little Miss Alaska Prepper, she baked 2 pumpkin pies from scratch. She made the dough, she cut the pumpkin, roasted it, all that stuff. She did it all herself from scratch. And they're already baked and they're sitting on the counter. So it's kind of difficult for me not to, you can't really hide taking a piece of pumpkin pie out, With a cake, you can maybe take a little bit of the frosting or something and then, hide that. But it's not easy to hide with a pie. So today, or this Thanksgiving, Little Miss Alaska Prepper joined her mom in the kitchen, and she did a great job from what I can see. I haven't tasted them yet, but she hasn't failed us once in one of her baking or cooking endeavors. So I'm extremely thankful for that. I'm very thankful that this year our family welcomed Michael into our family, as well as very early this year we welcomed Brenna into our family as well. So now I have 2 daughters. I have 1 son and 1 grandson. And of course I have a wife. Can't leave the wife out of it. Ladies and gentlemen, with all of the things that are going on that we can easily put a negative spin to, I believe that today is a day of sharing your time with your family, sharing your bounty with your friends and your community. And for this reason, I want to encourage you that if you know someone that may not have anyone this Thanksgiving and you have an extra seat at your table, go ahead and invite them over and share what's yours with them. I just read an article earlier this morning, and it says that 1 in 4 Americans this year are going to forego altogether having a Thanksgiving dinner because they want to save the money or because they don't have the money to spend on dinner. And that's one of the reasons why I am so adamant about doing donations to the food bank, because everyone needs to eat. And I'm going to call Mrs. Ann later on this morning. It's still very early. It's only about 6 o'clock in the morning right now. But I'm going to call her later on today. And during today's live stream, I'm going to give you an update as to whether we made the turkey drive or not for our North Star Borough, which is a pretty big piece of land that the food bank actually covers. You know, they feed a lot of people. So I'll let you all know during our live stream how that went. I'm really hoping that we made it, because there was a final push here this last weekend of businesses collecting turkeys and food stuff to give out to those that cannot afford to have a Thanksgiving dinner today. So I will let you know. But everything that we talk about that precludes why it is that we have to be prepared, all of these things can be draining. So try to stay away from that today and just enjoy your time with your families. And get a lot of rest, because tomorrow's Black Friday. I hope that I don't see one of you out there banging someone over the head with a flat screen TV so that you can save $30. But having said that, I will be having some Black Friday videos out tomorrow. Why? Because there are some things out there, prepper related things, that are going to be on the cheap. And some people have been saving, probably all year long to try to capitalize on those things that they've been wanting to get that are going to be on the cheap during Black Friday. I'm not a proponent of going to brick and mortar stores and running people over to save a few bucks. I've gone out on a few Black Fridays before here in this area, and it's really no big deal. I've never encountered a long line. I've never encountered, masses of people running over each other, anything like that. Pretty organized and pretty civilized as well. At least that's been my experience. However, if I can stay home and do whatever window shopping, whatever it is that I want to do from home, then I will do that. I actually took advantage of a Black Friday deal today, to tell you the truth. And I'm just talking with you, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we're doing here today. It's just talking. I took advantage of a Black Friday deal that they had today at SD Bullion. So I got an email from them, and I haven't purchased from them for a while. But they were selling a really cool little 10-gram bar of gold. So 10 grams, for those of you that don't know, in relation to what 1 troy ounce is, 10 grams is roughly 1/3 of an ounce, of a troy ounce, roughly just shy of 1/3 of a troy ounce of gold. But it was a really cool bar, so I was like, man, that really looks good. And they were selling it at spot. So they were selling it at spot price. And with the shipping, it came out to like $8 over spot. So I was like, wow, that's an awesome deal, and it was a really cool bar. So I did make that purchase today, but I have no problem in it with converting fiat currency into real money. But really, I bought it because it was so cool and the price was so great, at spot. But anyways, that's the Black Friday shopping that I did, and that's probably all that I'm going to do as far as Black Friday shopping goes. Obviously, I'm a prepper, and I have pretty much everything that I need in order to be prepared going forward. But I'm actually looking forward to today. We have a lot of friends coming over today, obviously. Victor and Michael and Bren are going to be coming over. And hopefully, I'm not promising anything, ladies and gentlemen, but hopefully during this afternoon's live stream, maybe Michael can do a cameo. Maybe he can steal the show for a couple of minutes. All right. He's been in the bunker before. I can just imagine when he comes to the bunker, and he's able to walk. I won't be able to get any work done because he'll probably want to be getting into everything. There's so much stuff here. But hopefully he'll be able to do a cameo this afternoon during our live stream. But be thankful, ladies and gentlemen, with especially within the preparedness and the news and financial YouTube channels that there are. Everything looks like it's gloom. But you have to understand that we are here for a reason. We have been given this gift of life. And we should appreciate, and I know it's easy for me to say, I know it. We should appreciate the good times along with the hard times. Because what we are being given is the gift of that experience. And experience, ladies and gentlemen, is what allows you to make better decisions in the future. And I do know that there are some hard times that you cannot say that about. I would never say that about someone losing a loved one. That is an experience that I never want to go through. As far as immediate family members, when my parents passed away, it was extremely difficult. I'll share something with you that I've never shared with anyone before. When my mom passed away, she passed away before my father. I was in Michigan, and she was in Dominican Republic, because when my mother and my father, when they retired, they went back to Dominican Republic. They had some land there, and they built a small house, etc. A lot cheaper to live there on Social Security, obviously. But they moved there, and they were happy there. When she passed away, I rushed to the airport. And I remember I was broke. I didn't have any money at that time. And a friend of mine, he loaned me $1,000. That's all I had, was the $1,000 that he loaned me. And I rushed to the airport, which was a few miles away. And I didn't even make a reservation or anything. I just rushed to the airport, and I went to pay for the airline ticket to go to the Dominican Republic. Because in Dominican Republic, when you pass away, you have to be buried before the next sundown. So for example, let's say that you pass away at 5 p.m. on any certain night. You have to be buried by that next day's sundown. So I was like in a race against the clock. So I get to the airport with my $1,000 on me. And I asked the gentleman, yes, I need a ticket. It's an emergency. And, he rung up the ticket, and it was like $900 and something for the ticket. And I almost started crying. And I told him, I can't afford to pay that. All I have is $1,000, and I have to go to my mother's funeral. And he says, oh, your mom passed away? And I say, yes. And he says, well, do you have like a copy of the death certificate or something like that? I was like, I don't have anything. I just found out a few hours ago. And he was kind enough to go ahead and reduce that airline ticket fee from like $900 and something to like $500 and something. And I was so very grateful. And when I got to Dominican Republic, when I landed there, my mother was in the cemetery, and the cemetery should have already closed. I think it was like 6 or 7 p.m. that the cemetery closes on a daily basis there. They actually open gates and close them, and you're not allowed to bury anyone in between these times and all that kind of stuff, But the cemetery was actually closed, and a good friend of our family's, they had to bribe the person that works at the cemetery. They had to bribe them in order to keep it open. And this is kind of hard for me to talk about. So they had to bribe him in order to keep it open just long enough so that I can come and say my goodbyes. So it's very difficult to even think about it today. So I can't even imagine someone losing a child. And when my dad passed away, I was in Afghanistan. And when you travel from Afghanistan, it usually takes you about 3 days to make it back home. If you're really lucky, it takes you a couple of days. Well, my dad was on his deathbed, and I got a Red Cross message. And I talked to my commander, and my commander was like, yeah, get out of here, go. So I called over there, and to this day, I still regret not going. But I talked to my sister, I talked to a couple of my brothers, I was able to talk to my father and tell him that I love him. And he ended up passing away shortly after I talked to him. So I never took the trip because I knew it was going to take me between 2 to 3 days to make it to the States. And then when I got to the States, then I had to book a flight to go to the Dominican Republic. By the time that I had gotten there, my brothers and sisters would have already had left to go back to their lives, come back here to the United States. It's hard to talk about even today. So again, I understand how it is for someone to lose a loved one, especially someone that is near and dear to them, like family. So go over and please go over and support Southern Boy Prepper. Like I said, he's a good man. And looking at your life, looking at your personal life, looking at all of the tragedy that you've experienced throughout your life, that in itself allows you to be grateful for what you have today. So don't take today as a day where you just eat turkey and drink beer and watch football. But remember what's important in your life. Remember who those people are that you are here for. Remember who those people are that you are preparing for. It's not because you just want them to survive. It's because you love them. And since we should love our fellow man, then make sure that if you know someone who needs a hand up and needs somewhere to be on Thanksgiving, that you extend your hand and invite them to your home. I want to tell you a story. I don't even remember the name of the movie that I watched. This is an old movie, and I believe it was Will Smith, I think, and his son played in it. And I just want to, and this is a true story, and these stories are abundant. They're everywhere. But I'm going to tell you this one because I remember this one. I always have. But it was about a man who, I believe his wife was into drugs and stuff like that. And she ended up leaving, or they ended up divorcing, and he retained custody of his child. And his child was just a little kid. And this man was struggling all the time. His life was a struggle. He was a veteran, I believe, from the United States Navy. And he never gave up. There were scenes in that movie that I'm sure really happened because the gentleman was interviewed. Him and his son were interviewed years after that movie came out. But there were scenes in that movie where this gentleman and his child, where they had to sleep on a train overnight, where they would buy a train ticket and sleep there overnight because they were homeless. There were scenes in that movie where they slept in like a janitor's closet because they had nowhere to live. And one day this gentleman, and he was a salesman. He was a salesman of some kind of a machine. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't enough really for him to make a living. But he did everything that he could in order to take care of his child. And one day an opportunity presented itself to him, and it was like an internship at some kind of, I think it was like a hedge fund, is what I think it was. And he didn't know much about that stuff, but he went for the interview and he was hired as an intern with zero pay. And I believe that the internship was like 90 days. So not only was he working trying to provide for his child, for his little son and himself, but at the same time he was working full time at this internship, working as hard as he could because he saw that there is hope when you believe. And I remember a scene where his little boy was playing basketball and he just wasn't very good at it. And he told his son, he said, you know, you're never going to be a basketball player. You know, why don't you give this up? And he saw that that really deflated his son's spirit. And then he thought about it and he went back to his son and he said, don't you ever let anyone ever tell you that you can't do anything. If you want to do it, you do it. And you sacrifice and you do whatever you have to do in order to accomplish your goal. And the great thing about, and leave the name of the movie in the comments if you remember the name. I forget the name. I'm terrible at this, ladies and gentlemen, at telling stories like this of things that I've already forgotten and just parts that I remember. But the movie ended up with him being called, I think it was up to 3 people that were going to get hired in that intern. It was between him and I think 2 other people. And the movie ended with him being called to the office to find out whether he was hired or fired, really, in a way. And he found out that he was hired. And that completely changed his and his son's life. And why am I saying this? For those of you that think that the United States of America has lost its way, yes, it has lost its way. But what that movie tells me is that there is still hope for our great nation. And Thanksgiving is one of those days where I personally am thankful for being here in this great nation. A lot of bad stuff going on, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of bad stuff going on. I'm not going to say no to that. But we are still here. We are still breathing. And there is still hope. So continue to prepare for the fight that's to come, because we're going to need to fight for our liberty. Again, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. I love every one of you. I hope you know that by now. All right? And we'll see you later on this afternoon. God bless every single one of you, and God bless these United States of America.